Welcome to the first episode of our long-awaited book club, a new series where I summarize some of the key insights and ideas from some of my favorite books. Today we're talking about the book Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia, a book where he talks about how to live longer and live better, which is all about science-based activities which will extend your life and improve your longevity. He calls it living better longer. He commented at the beginning of the book something that really resonated with me, and that was, through all of its progress, American medicine hasn't made big jumps in Alzheimer's, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, or cancer. The basic premise of the book is that dealing with issues earlier is much more effective than correcting them when they come upon us, and that is the basic formula for extending life and improving longevity. Attia goes on to say that a personalized four-prong approach to someone's health goes a lot further than the right medicine. The book draws on the newest science of what he calls the four pillars, which is nutrition, exercise, sleep, and emotional health. What I really like about the book is that there's no biohacking here. Most people would read the book and say, this makes sense intuitively to me. My big aha moment of the book is when Attia said that today's medical science is designed to make sick people better rather than stopping them from getting sick in the first place. One only need to walk into a pharmacy, walk past the tobacco section to the prescription counter to know exactly what I'm talking about. He also makes a rational point that some of the New World Order diseases are caused by the fact that we have an ancient DNA that hasn't caught up yet. The world needs more food, so we genetically modify seeds to have more abundance in every crop. Fructose, which is something that occurs naturally in fruit and honey, is good for us in small quantities, but it's also used to make food taste better and inserted in places that it doesn't necessarily belong, which causes us to store more fat. And our sleep is negatively affected by the stimulation of a device like this. Social media, for example, has one of the biggest tolls because you can always find something to love or to hate. What I really loved about the examples for this group is that some of the examples really related to people 60 plus, not 30, meaning you can start making changes much later in life and get great results. Attia also did a deep dive into why people who smoke and drank, even up to the end, sometimes live to 110, 115, even 120 years old in some cases. They died from diseases like the rest of us in most cases, but he cites that the morbidity period was greatly compressed. He explains that one possible explanation is a person's Apolipoprotein E type, which affects cholesterol, Alzheimer's, and a few other conditions. If a person has Apolipoprotein E2, this signals that a person's far less likely to get dementia. Apolipoprotein E4 signals that they're more likely to get dementia, as an example. And for reference, most people have Apolipoprotein E3, which is somewhere in the middle. He also discusses other discoveries and their effect on human lifespan and health span, as he calls it. One is a molecule called Rapamycin, which was discovered on Easter Island. This molecule apparently extends the lifespan in mammals. It was originally thought to cure athlete's foot, but in 1999 the FDA approved it as a treatment for patients that have had transplants to help them accept those transplants. Rapamycin was given to mice that were 600 days old, and it increased the average lifespan of the male mice by 28% and 38% for female mice. It was proposed that rapamycin slowed down the aging process because it slowed down cellular growth and division. Diet restriction is also cited in the book. 16th century businessman Alvise Cornaro, who was obese, came to the conclusion that by restricting his diet, he could live longer and the ailments that he was facing would become less. After Cornaro restricted his diet to 12 ounces of food per day, his weight significantly decreased, as one would expect. His stomach problems went away, and he had a lot more energy. Attia does go on to say that he would never recommend this level of calorie restriction to his patients. Something more sensible in this day and age is probably in order. Practically speaking, Attia says that diet is directly related to lifespan, cancer, memory, and heart disease. Simply put, our ancient DNA is not built for the modern diet, and he discusses what you can change to bring our bodies and the world, the food world anyway, more in alignment. In fact, later in the book, he goes deep into diet and discusses everything from calories to alcohol, from carbohydrates to fat to protein. He then moves into the next pillar, exercise, citing that exercise is the most powerful anti-aging drug out there. He begins by discussing something called the Centurion Decathlon, but instead of 10 events, it's 50 plus. These 50 things are those that people who age have a hard time doing. These include walking 1.5 miles up a hill, getting off the floor once you've fallen, picking up a child from the floor, picking up a 20-pound bag from the floor, taking a piece of luggage, putting it in the overhead compartment, and the list goes on and on. Finally, he talks about the fact that many, maybe even most people that are reading the book have gone beyond the point where they can easily just start training for the decathlon. So he talks about where to start. And where to start is stability. Without stability, injury can happen, and so he spends quite a bit of time in this area. Next is sleep. Attia talks about how to love sleep and says that this is the best medicine for memory and your brain. He discusses how long we need to sleep, what internal and external cues affect sleep, and how sleep affects cardiovascular disease and your mental prowess. He then goes into how to assess your sleep, measurement of sleep quality, some questions about when you fall asleep, like do you fall asleep in front of the television, do you fall asleep in a meeting at the office, for those of you that are still working, do you fall asleep reading a book? Some of these are good, some of these are bad. He then goes on to talk about how to improve your sleep, citing electronics in almost every form as a major cause of sleep deprivation. The book concludes with a section on mental health. Attia talks about some of the shortcomings in his life, highly relatable, by the way. When you read some of this information, it makes you think. My guess is that most readers will find his comments totally human and, as I said, entirely relatable, which is, of course, the point. My only comment about this last section on mental health was that it was much shorter than the rest of the sections, and he could have gone a little bit more deep into this, given that in today's day and age, mental health is such a big issue. Having said all of that, this is a book that I really enjoyed, and it's one that I'm planning on reading again. This is Geoff Schmidt. Thanks for watching.